All right, listeners. Well, I have a real life celebrity for you guys here on the podcast. I mean, this dude really is a celebrity, and I'm not kidding you because he's on TikTok, has a million followers. I mean, not a million, half million, but it'll be a million soon, I'm sure. And I mean, my daughter makes a living on TikTok doing food reviews, and she only has 250. And and no offense, but she's a lot prettier than all the home inspectors out there. So
That's
you
for
guys must be
sure.
putting out some good content.
Yeah, yeah. If I was better looking, I'd probably make a living on TikTok.
There you go. There you go. Well, I have Mr. Preston Kincaid, and that sounds so weird because my name's Preston, and I don't know you, but I know of you, and I know we've kind of commented on things. We've never had a direct conversation, but I got to ask you, how old are you? I'm wondering who had the name first.
Yeah, so I'm 53. It's funny
I'm
too because
56.
it's funny. I like if you go to Chat GPT and you ask like who's the most well-known home inspectors, your name pops up. So I always have to introduce myself as the other Preston.
Oh, please, please. No, this guy's Inspector Preston. I could never use that now, but you've done well. I go with Inspector Crazy Pants. That's kind of my
There you go. There you go.
Inspector Preston must have been more popular because it got a lot more followers than I got like 4,000.
Nice, nice. Hey, that represents what, about 8% of the entire inspection, all the inspectors?
Yeah, yeah. But dude, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, and I appreciate you doing this, and all the listeners who are, primarily home inspectors. And the whole idea is we give them a little bit of value, and I know you've got a lot of gold nuggets to share and stuff like that. But first, Preston, tell me, how did you get in the glamorous world of home inspection? Did you make a wrong turn in high school somewhere? Or what happened?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. I like to joke and say I was ordered to do it by a judge. It's kind of true. So way
Really?
back, yeah, 2001, I was going through a divorce and it was a really terrible time because I came out of Silicon Valley. I was in technology and I liked to do home renovation. I liked to do restoration of old vintage homes, that sort of thing. And when the whole dot-com bubble blew up, um, I ended up in court and a judge said, I'm going to order you to pay child support and spousal support based upon your ability to earn your historical income. What he
Oh,
was basically saying was find a way to make money. And a friend of mine had a home inspection business and he said, man, I could show you the ropes. And so, I started doing some inspections and it was mostly just to appease a judge so they wouldn't throw me in jail. I never took it seriously. It was always kind of a side gig. There were years I didn't do any inspections. And then in 2015, when I moved to Pennsylvania, I finally escaped California.
that's
Uh,
why. Yeah, I was getting to that because I know you're not in California now. So how did you get?
no, no, no. Yeah, man, I couldn't wait to move out of that state. And, when I finally got the green light from the ex to take my son and go, I moved out of California as fast as I could, and I did home inspection in Pennsylvania for a while just to make ends meet. I didn't have a job when I moved there, and then during COVID is when I really decided to like focus on it, like really
Right.
make that my main focus, as a career. And here I am.
Okay. So what part of Pennsylvania are you in?
Well, I'm in upstate New York now, so I
That's what I was
moved.
thinking. I was wondering. So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
did you?
I moved to Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, and then I was looking to kind of disassociate and secede from society, and I moved up here, bought 60 acres with a big trout stream, and
Oh, nice,
yeah,
nice.
I live in the
Well, I
middle of
see.
nowhere.
I see, I watch a lot of your videos and stuff, and I'll tell you, I used to feel bad for inspectors in the Northeast because, you know, they had all these old houses. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, man. We don't have 100-year-old houses,
Right,
I
right.
mean, and even guys like in Florida and Texas, I'm like, man, they got slabs and pull downs, like they got it made. But on the flip side of that, you got all kinds of content. I mean, you go inspect a
It's,
10-year-old house, there's not a whole lot.
I mean, the ratio, it's kind of funny. 95% of the homes that I inspect are 100 years old or more. And then you scale that
Wow.
down, about 80% of them are 150 years or older, and probably a good half of the homes that I inspect are nearly 200 years old.
Holy cow.
So like old post and beam, the house that I'm sitting in right now was built in 1817.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. We don't have any. I think the oldest thing I've ever inspected was probably 1890, and there's probably a handful of them here, but
Yeah.
most of the things post World War II.
The
Well, let me ask
oldest
you
home,
this.
yeah, the oldest home I've inspected was early 1700s. I think it was 1740, which was like, Revolutionary War era.
Yeah, wow. Well, let me ask you this: of all the homes you've inspected, Preston, what's the wildest, craziest thing you've ever found?
So I get that question a lot. And so it's really hard to answer that question because I have seen some crazy stuff, like crazy stuff. Um, I've seen, those scissor jacks they put in the trunks of all the import cars,
Yep,
those
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that
yeah,
has
yeah.
the
Exactly
screw in
right.
the center. I've
Mhm.
seen those concreted into the foundations. Um, but I think for me, the one story I like to tell is the ingenuity that actually I had a lot of respect for, which was a Mr. Coffee drip coffee machine being used as a water heater in a bathroom.
Oh wow. Do you
So
have a video on that?
I do, yeah, man. I got pictures of it too. They had a valve on it. They had a little spout, and they would turn on the coffee machine, turn on the spout, and hot water would come out, and they'd brush their teeth.
Oh wow, wow. So I have to ask you, so what's your go-to, like, we're supposed to present our information in a neutral, Switzerland type manner. And in the back of your head, you're going, this is a POS. Uh
Right.
how do you when you find something really bad, I mean, what's your bedside manner? I mean, how do you present it?
So I will tell you that I've been evolving. You know, I would say 5 years ago, I worked a lot harder at being Switzerland.
Right,
And
right.
these days I'm shooting from the hip pretty I'm pretty unfiltered. So, I had a house that I had a video that just went viral last week, and it was a house I showed up and they were spray foaming the foundation while like the day of the inspection.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, yeah. To
And
cover up stuff, right? Like you couldn't be
yeah,
able.
and I got the client standing next to me, and I was like so unfiltered. I told her, I said, "Listen, this house is going to be a money pit. It's a train wreck. This house is an absolute train wreck." I said, "It has a compromised floor structure, and who knows what they're covering up with the spray foam. The stuff that we can see is this bad. Who knows the stuff we can't see?" And I said, "If you want to stop this inspection right now," I said, "we'll pretend it never happened, and I'll put a free inspection on the books for you, and your
Nuts,
next one will
nuts.
be free." And so, like, it pisses off a lot of realtors. It pisses off a lot of realtors. And I'm kind of at that point in my career right now where I just don't care. I'm going to advocate for the
Yeah,
client, and I'll go out of business and become bankrupt before I start softening reports,
yeah.
softening verbiage. I'm just not going to do it, man. I used to work harder at finding that neutral spot. Now I'm just like, you
I
know,
know. I'm working on. You ever seen that movie? What's the clip? "Fu Money." What's the guy's name? Used to be on Roseanne. Where he's talking about, and it doesn't have to be that you're rich. It's just that you've got your expenses taken care of. And you know what? After a while, like I don't have to watch what I say. I don't have because I got enough money. I mean, to live out. And I'm trying
I,
to get the.
I'm a short timer. So for me, I'm on the verge of retirement. I was actually going to retire last year, but I just got married and my wife's got a whole new set of plans. We're going to renovate an old barn that I got here. It's a 200-year-old barn. We're going to turn it into a barn dominium. And
Oh,
she's like,
nice.
keep working for 2 more years. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep working.
So
So,
now I've seen some. Is your son getting into the business? I've seen that he's helping. How old is he? Is he? And are you guys licensed in New York?
yeah,
How does it?
we're a regulated state. I think that my son is the youngest person to ever become a home inspector. He went through his schooling when he was 17, and he was just waiting to take the test when he turned 18 in December. He passed the NHIE on his first try and then got licensed in March.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Seems
Yep.
like I've seen a couple videos. Seems like a pretty smart kid.
Man, he's come a long way in a short time, and I'll tell you, it's impressive when like we're already to the point where I don't even feel like I have to review his reports anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just
What report software, if you don't mind? I'm just curious.
begrudgingly I'm using Spectora. I'm trying real hard to get off of it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm about 90% switched over to tool belt.
Tool Belt.
Yep.
I've heard
Yep.
good things about them. And what's the one, Dylan, out in Seattle? Oh, I can't think of
I
the
I don't know that one.
guy.
There's a couple new ones that are out right now that I've heard good things about. I forget the names of them. I like tool belt because Ian's established and he's responsive. So when I send Ian an email and say, like, I got 90% switched over, and then I hit a roadblock because they didn't have drag and drop on the web editor. And a good portion of my reports, I have to switch to just camera mode and not actually build in the software. So I have to get home and build the reports. And on a Mac, clicking an upload button, you just get these tiny thumbnails. And I'm like, man, I can't even see what the thumbnails are. You can't even
Yeah.
adjust the size. I just told Ian, man, I hit a roadblock. And he was like, we'll work on it. And they got drag and drop put in. So it's
We're
I
Go ahead. Sorry.
but no, I was gonna say it's nice having a guy that's an inspector and understands the needs and he's responsive to our feedback.
100%. We still use home gauge. I know we're in the dark ages, but Chip, I have a manager, Chip, he handles that. So I let that be his decision. And we were gonna go with Spectora there for a while, but I think like all the Spectora reports look the same. Oh, he couldn't modify how it looked on the other thing, but I
You
let
know,
him make the decision.
there's a funny backstory to that. And this is actually one of my gripes with Spectora. So, and I'm pretty vocal about this. I've had public, arguments with, the founders, Kevin and Mike.
Yeah, whack stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I think their software is good. And their software could have been great. Like it could have been excellent. But there's so many things that are mediocre and poorly thought out. And you know that it looks great in a conference room, but looks horrible in the sunlight in the real world. Like I
Yeah.
could go down the list of 1,000 things where you're like, you know, you could tell it wasn't built by an inspector, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
there's ethical problems that I'm having with it right now. My issue
I
is
know where you're going. I want to touch on that if I can, but if you don't want, I know we have to be careful what we say. We don't want to get a cease and desist letter or anything, but it does
ah,
seem like there's a big thing about the data, and I got to ask you this, Preston, because you're outspoken and I agree. I read your stuff. I agree with most stuff you say. I don't agree with every single thing, but hey, man, that's America,
yep, yep.
um, and it's great. But I do. All right, so let me ask you this because I do feel like you're a guy who thinks about stuff like this. Data, it does seem like a lot of these folks are coming in buying up, and you've probably noticed this. A lot of venture capitalists, or I guess that's what you call, or they're buying up a lot of things,
I
but
call
they're
them vulture capitalists.
yeah, yeah. It seems like they're buying up home services businesses,
Yeah.
including home inspections. So how do you see that? I'm seeing that, and I'm trying to think. All right, what's the end game? What's their? From what I understand, venture capitalists. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I've watched a lot of videos. They're kind of like house flippers, but they're business flippers. Am I right in that?
Listen,
What
they're
do you
they're
think?
they're just bankers who like to call themselves entrepreneurs, and they're not. They're investors. And I've had technology companies. We've gone through acquisitions. I've been through so much of that crap ad
Oh yeah,
nauseum.
yeah. You come from that
So,
world.
yeah, and so what I can tell you is the only thing they care about is money. That's it. They're just business-minded folks, and I don't begrudge them for that. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do,
Right, right,
and
right.
they have a fiduciary duty to their investors, right, to make them to maximize their investment. There's some real problems in our country, but also in the world with corporate structure and all of it. We don't have to get into that. But at the end of the day, fiduciary duty can be, in my opinion, a bad thing
Yeah.
because when you have to screw over your customer to maximize the investment of your investors, that's a bad thing,
Yeah, I'm
right?
a big MJ DeMarco fan. If you ever like, he's written a couple of books, Fastlane Millionaire. That's just a title, but I highly recommend it if you're ever on the road or something. It's on Audible. MJ DeMarco books, and this guy made $1 million, a bunch of money. He started a limousine service, but then he started a business. But it was before Uber that you could get a limousine. But anyway, he talks about that, and he says what happens is, in the beginning, it's like you and your customer, right? Or the business, mom and pop, whoever, and the customer. There's two people in this
Right.
relationship, right? And you're good to the customer. But now it's like corporate money comes in. Now there's three people in this relationship. There's stockholders,
Yep.
there's the business, and then there's the customer.
That's right.
And do we lose, when it was mom and pop, or Preston Kincaid or Home Inspection Carolina, we were taking care of our customers. But now it's like, are we now, carrying the water for the stockholders? I
Hey,
mean,
right. You
and
listen,
that's what they're supposed to do. But like
it's
something,
this is where I just use deductive reasoning and logic, like business logic. There's no possible way that a company comes along and acquires Spectora for $44 million. And I'm now hearing that they actually sold some more of their share in the company and for more money. And for me, I'm looking at it going, I know to those venture capitalists, I know to those people, we are small potatoes. Home
right, right,
inspectors
right. That's I've said that.
paying
It's like,
like we're
I
paying
mean,
$100 a
if you're
month for
doing
our
really
software.
good, what you're knocking down a couple hundred grand. I mean, okay, that's a nice living, but why would venture capitalists be interested in that?
But listen, once you realize what we do every day, we are pumping information, specific information about homes in America into a database. That data is incredibly valuable. Now,
Especially with AI now.
oh yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up because now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put this all on record and you watch 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this podcast and you're going to go, holy
I
crap.
predicted
He,
it.
right? He was right. So, and I've never spoken about this publicly on any podcast before. Here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what my spidey sense tells me. Number one, are they right now accessing sensitive public private data of our clients? Probably not. But are they sniffing the data and drawing out insights, what they call KPIs, key point
Key
indicators?
performance indicators.
Are
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so key performance indicators, whatever. They'll have the data they care about. When I start to wrap my mind around possibilities, okay, why would this company want to invest in Spectora for $44 million? I can't think of a single reason. They're not doing it because of my $100 a month subscription. It has to
Right.
be the data, right? It has to be. Why did Spectora just gobble up home gauge? Right? More data. So when I look at that and I go, okay, I'm going to go pay attention to the company that acquired them. I'm going to go pay attention to Spectora and what they've changed. Oh, go look at the Spectora agreement. Their terms and conditions have changed, right? It's changed. So, and very specifically changed. They're now allowed to sell our data, and they're also allowed now to they've taken out some provisions that allow them a lot of freedom. I suspect, allegedly, just for legal purposes, here's what I suspect is going to happen. Spectora is eventually whatever company they become or whatever, whoever's acquired them, eventually they're going to phase us out. They're not going to need us home inspectors, and they're going to sell an app that says go walk into a house and take pictures, and our AI is going to tell you all the defects, and it's going to draw it right out of the database that we are teaching the AI right now currently.
Yeah.
And go look at Spectora's agreement. It's now got AI built into it, and they're allowed to use our information to train their AI. That's big money when you can phase out the home inspectors and just sell an app to the end user.
Well,
Now, theoretically, and I didn't mean to overcut, sorry if I'm dominating, but here's
no, go
another thing
ahead.
that
Carry
I'm
on.
nervous about. If I'm putting my client data into their database
Mhm.
and theoretically a company were to sniff that data and say, oh crap, that house has knob and tube wiring and asbestos in it, we're going to feed that down to the insurance company, and the insurance company is now going to hike the rates of my customer because I gave them the data. Ethically, that's a big problem for me. Now,
Yeah,
the big argument that I've heard from all the home inspectors is, the data's out there anywhere. Google's already taken all the data.
yeah.
And to that, I say, it's one thing if I choose to expose my data to Google, but I have to really step back and look at ethics when I'm exposing my client's data to these companies. It's different. It's definitely different, and there's a different realm there.
Yeah.
So take that for whatever you will. I don't think that any of their intentions are good, and none of it is there to help us.
Well, I have always thought, like, why are they spending so much money to buy a bunch of mom and pop, like, and it's not just home inspection. They're buying up, like, not them specifically, but venture capital is buying up, air conditioning, all kinds of home services.
Yep.
And I when I think about it like this, Preston, I'm looking at it like, what makes Amazon so successful, right? You push a button, you buy a product, it shows up on your porch. If you don't like it, you send it back. You remember before when Amazon first started, there was a bunch of sketchy websites, and you're like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna order from that. They're gonna steal
Right.
my information. But you feel safe ordering from Amazon, right? All right. So they sell anything on Amazon. I like so what's holding up them buying a house on Amazon right now? Like what's the drawback from buying a house on Amazon or something like that? You got to take the risk out, like they took the risk out, right?
Yep.
So I'm thinking, kind of like maybe what you were talking about, the thing, or they're all pre-inspected somehow, where they I've heard this term, they want to Uberize every industry, right?
I
Push a
think
button,
it's I
get
think
a
it's a
car,
little
push a
bit.
button, buy a house.
Yeah, no, I think it's more like LegalZoom. I agree with the like the Uberize, the Airbnb kind of. So I get DoorDash, you look at what they're doing with data and how they're kind of automating things these days. But look what LegalZoom did for the legal profession, right? It used to be really hard to set up a corporation. You had to go to a lawyer, you had to pay them thousands of dollars. It was complicated stuff. And somebody along the way said, we can automate all the stuff we normally do. All this kind of paralegal stuff that we just have our paralegals knock out. We can structure that online and really streamline that. And I definitely see that happening for real estate. And unfortunately, that's gonna bode really, really poorly for realtors because, and this is something that I do at realty offices. I have a speech and a talk that I do where I talk about the importance of ethics because realtors need to remember every day that they are a professional consultant that has a fiduciary duty to a client. Because when that day comes and Zillow has a buy now button that puts you into a LegalZoom system that just automatically does all that stuff that realtors do, the only thing that will keep people using realtors versus clicking the button is trust.
Right.
And that's what you just hit on with Amazon. When they want somebody in their corner fighting it out for them, negotiating with the other side. You know, they want somebody walking them through that complicated process. The minute you lose the public's trust, you're cooked. And now what we're seeing out in the realty world, and you go through my comments on TikTok, holy cow. It's just horror story after horror story about realtors who only care about commissions.
I
And
I do have hope, Preston, for like everybody else, I worry that we're all going to be Uberized or the data, big tech, whatever. I do have hope though, because I do have a quick story, and I don't want to hold up your time. But my
yeah,
father
yeah.
was a mortician. He's not with us anymore, but so my father was in the funeral business. I didn't want to go in that business because imagine what you're wishing for. If you're in the home inspection business, you're like, well, I sure hope somebody sells a house. If you're in the mortician business, you're like, man, I wish somebody.
Man, I hope we get another pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I am going somewhere with this. You're probably like,
All
where are you
right.
going? All right, guys. Well, if you've made it this far in the podcast, thank you for listening. This would be the point where I would promote something that I'm selling, but I really don't have anything to sell. Appreciate you listening. I am writing a book called Be the Elephant in the Room. So if you are getting value out of this, when that book comes out, I'd appreciate it if maybe you get a copy and say something good if you like it. You don't like it, just don't say anything. But anyway, just kidding. But anyway, again, thank you for listening. If you got value, follow the people that I'm interviewing, and check out a website that I have. I'm an artist, PrestonSandlin.com. I do some art, and my daughter is a food. She reviews food on TikTok. Sarah Margaret Eats. So if you got value out of this, follow, like, subscribe, whatever, any of those things be much appreciated. And again, thank you for watching, listening. They actually made a movie about this. So back in the 80s, so most people who are in the funeral business, that's a family business. It's like not too many people go to high school like, hey, I want to be a mortician, unless their dad was a mortician or their mom or whatever. It was a family. That is the definition of mom and pop businesses. And they actually made a movie about this. Back in the 80s, there were two companies, there were two like corporations that started buying up all these family funeral homes. And there's a movie that it's oh gosh, it's out there. It's oh gosh, I can't think of it right now. It's the guy who Jamie, he's the lawyer. Who was the guy that was in Men in Black? Not Will Smith, but the other guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know I forget his name.
What is it? Bobby, I can't think of it. I'll put it in the notes. But anyway, there's a movie they made about this. But I am going somewhere with this. So they started buying up all these family funeral homes, and they kept them, like Jones Family Funeral Home. And it was corporate because there's a lot of money in funerals because it's, the cost. My dad told me, way back, it was basically like a five, it was five, the cost was five times. So if you're paying like $10,000 for a funeral, the cost was two, you know, or something like that. The casket, the
Right.
whole thing. So corporate wanted in on this, right? They were like, wow, investors just like they wanted in on everything now. So they started buying up all these businesses, Preston, and there was a big fear at the time, like, oh, they're just going to take up everything. But what happened was it's 20, 30 years later, they only have about 10 to 15% of the market because it is a very much a family, know, like, and trust. It's like you
Yeah, it's a
married
relationship
grandma,
based thing.
you
Sure.
married thing. I don't want to deal with some corporate dude that, and I'm hoping home inspection and real estate is a little bit like that. I could be wrong.
You
There's
know,
that adage in business. You like to do business with people you know, like, and trust. So the
here's the
point of
thing.
that is they
I
never
hope
took over
so.
the entire business.
Here's my feelings on this. And I know I'm going to get, really kicked around for this, but there is no industry in America in need of a full revamp, a reset than real estate. There are so many ethical problems in the whole business, and there's people with very deep pockets keeping it that way. Um, there needs to be a whole reset of this industry. Now, the thing is, I think the industry is going to reset itself, and it may not reset in ways that anybody likes. AI is going to play a big part of it. Technology is going to play a big part of it. The good news is that we are still the boots on the ground. We're until they come up with a robot that can get into crawl spaces and be able to identify the difference, between aluminum wiring. Like AI is a long way. They're decades away from getting to that point. But will people trust AI enough to get a good enough home inspection? Maybe. And that's really kind of the biggest risk to us. I don't think we're going to get replaced anytime soon, and I actually hope that realtors don't either.
No,
I'm really gunning for the realtors, and I'm really trying to do my part. I'll give you an example. I don't actually like getting referrals from Google or Google searches. I prefer my clients to be referred by realtors, and I work with a lot of really good ethical realtors.
mhm.
And those are the people that I know the industry needs. And I prefer it that way, right? And this is why my pricing model is the way it is. I actually give discounts to referred clients from realtors versus people who find me online. Um, there's a lot of really, really good ethical realtors out there. And it's like any other industry. There's a lot of people that only care about making money. So what I'd really like to see is the industry reset itself in a way that actually does that, accomplishes a reward for the good ethical realtors. The problem is I think the public at large is is losing trust in everybody involved, including us, de
Yeah.
facto, because of what's happening, right? They don't trust builders, they don't trust realtors, they don't trust home inspectors. And all you got to do is read my comments by the tens of
I'm sure you get a
thousands.
lot of hate. My daughter gets a bunch of hate. You get a bunch of trolls on there. I'm sure
Oh
you
man,
do.
but what I see every day is horror stories. Man, my home inspector must have been blind because he didn't see half the problems. And so this is why AJ and I came up with best inspector list. We were really trying hard to find the home inspectors that are really good. and be able to highlight them in a way because what's you're going to know this about our industry. Here's the thing I didn't know about our industry getting into it. The better you are, the more it harms you,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Oh, how
I
many have you
never,
you said I'm never going to use you again, or but then they call you for their own house or their
that's
kids?
it. So I got a blacklist. We carry a blacklist in my office, and that's how realtors end up on my blacklist. If you only use me for yourself or your family and you don't refer me to your clients, I can't think of a less ethical thing.
Yeah,
And I won't take your referrals anymore. I'll put you on my blacklist. I'd rather, go fishing.
yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you in the reset, and I think part of the problem too, along with everything that you said, is if you think about, now they can't do it, but it was 6%, right? That was kind of the 3% to this buyer, seller's agent,
Right.
3% to the thing. When it was $100,000 house, it was 3,000 to each one. But there's no $100,000 houses now. They're all half a million. So, that is now, well, let me go to a million so I can do the math real quick. I mean, if I got $1 million house, do I really have to pay $60,000 to sell this thing? I mean, it pretty much sells. I mean, it's certainly worth, a realtor marketing it for me and showing it. It's certainly worth some money, but $60,000? I mean, that's a lot of daggone money.
Yeah, this is where I'll jump in and defend the realtor position a little bit. So first of all, as if you've ever been involved in sales, you know that you got to continually fill the pipeline, and only a
Oh, yeah.
certain percentage of those things close. So you do a lot of work that you don't get paid for, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
to get $30,000 in a commission on one of your closings means you had six that didn't go through, right?
True.
So on top of it, I couldn't be a realtor because I couldn't do their job because I can't juggle 150 people this week between contractors, inspectors, listing agents, buyers, like lawyers.
And it's a
They're,
commission only. It is a
they're
commission
right.
only.
Their job is very hard. I'm also not going to burn Saturdays and Sundays working 12 hours tromping through mud with my muck boots on to show people properties. So their job actually, a lot of people kind of oversimplify what they do and call them whatever, used car
Oh no,
sales.
they work hard. They work hard. I
They
don't.
have a very hard job and they only close a certain amount of those things. So I actually don't begrudge them for the money that they make. I'm actually more critical of our own industry where I'm like, why didn't we stay commensurate with the rise in
We're so
pricing?
under. I mean, it like gosh, it kills me. I mean, all right,
Preach,
the Preston, we
preach.
make the least amount of money in the deal, take on the most liability, and it has not changed that much. I mean,
We
like price wise.
it's mind-boggling to me because I'm pushing the envelope of pricing right now. I am pushing it. So I've hit a ceiling. I can't price any higher
Yeah,
because there's so much drop off. Like I've tested out pricing to see like how high I could go. I've got a 650 base rate and then it goes up $100 per 1,000 square feet, right?
about so your base rate's up to how many square feet?
2,000 square feet.
Okay.
So 2,000 square feet or under, it's 650. I don't leave my driveway for less than $650. Then it goes up $100. So if it's, 3,000 square feet, that's 750. It goes up from there. Now I also factor in age and distance. So, I've got a little bit of an algorithm of my own, but at the end of the day, every other inspector in my region is priced between 325 and 475.
That's hard, man. It's
And
hard.
I'm like, so until those guys will follow my lead and bring their pricing up, my base rate will go to 850 the minute they do that,
Yeah.
right?
I yeah. I don't think a lot of guys, and I'm not begrudging them. Hey, man, we all started out, and sometimes you got to do. I don't think understand the true cost of doing business too. Like when you really add up, the cost of your equipment, your insurance, your training, your gas, your
Right.
insurance, and then the liability. The liability. Oh my gosh, the amount of liability we take on is ridiculous.
Oh man, the liability is insane. Like literally every report we write has to be a liability protection court evidence document.
Oh, and it's gotten worse. I started Preston in the '90s, and man, we wrote those things on a carbon paper. I mean, I've got some up on the shelf. It was like a checklist, but people didn't expect that. I mean, I got to be careful what I say here, but it was like, it was just, you kind of looked at it, you had a, it's gotten more and more, as the equipment's gotten better, the
Yep.
expectation that you will find I mean, prior to 1980s, you didn't even do home inspections.
Right. Right.
I mean, we just got, we were like I call it that, like, you're paying if your dad's not a contractor, you're paying for a dad contractor to come with you
Right.
early on.
Right. Well, it's
Anyway,
client expectation and it's also liability. Those two things have driven the expansion of our scope of services. So I truly believe that what happened was it evolved like this. The checklist was good enough until somebody sued you and said you missed this thing. So next time you decided to take a picture of that thing to prove that it was, so and then what happened was you're like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to take a picture for every defect to prove that it was actually a defect. But then what happened was you got sued for the thing you didn't include. So you're like, okay, now I guess I got to take pictures for things that were okay at the inspection because they might try to say that, right? Think about how it evolved over the years.
oh yeah, and now you get the sellers wanting to sue you, saying that you messed up the sale of
Right.
their house, and it's just like, oh my god.
I had a client last week, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, call me while I was in Italy on vacation. And he's yelling at me on the phone, literally yelling. And he says, I was there and I didn't see you run any water in that bathroom sink. And when I moved in, the P trap underneath was leaking all over the floor. The floor's ruined. And I said, open your report, go to 4.4.2. And I said, you see that picture of the bathroom sink? Because I literally now run hot water and take pictures with thermal imaging just to prove that I filled the sink with water and dumped the drain stopper. I said, go to the next photo. Do you see the P trap is hot? Yes. Do you see any hot drips under it? No. If it was leaking, the hot water would have dripped and it would have looked like lava in the thermal photo. So I'm now to the point where my reports are so thorough because number one, I'm trying to serve the client, but number two, I'm also trying to cover my ass.
Yeah. What we did, we started wearing body cams. And I have to tell you a quick story. This just happened last week. We get a call. They come home, whatever. We had done the inspection, people weren't home, whatever. And they put down the garage door or opened it, put it down, or it was, I don't know. But anyway, garage door comes down, crumples up. And of course, it's our fault, right? Blah, blah,
We've
blah.
all been there. Yep.
Yeah, we go back and look at the body footage, and here's what happened. Mike was out there, and it's good. I mean, it's kind of like a 180. It's like a police cam, and it got so while they were in the garage, the buyer's brother was over there fumbling with these rods or something, and the rods, I guess he left, and they got in the track of the garage. So it was the
Wow.
buyer's brother, and we had the video. So that squelched that right away. But
Wow.
otherwise we got blamed for it because it was fine until the inspector got there. You know how that saying
The
goes.
last one to touch it. Yeah, man. It's I had one of my TikTok videos that I put up was a guy that was trying to sue me over a failed septic dye test because it backed up into his basement. And somehow the clog in his pipe was my fault. He literally accused me of clogging his pipe.
You couldn't even do that if you wanted to, unless you took a bag of concrete or
I
something.
I don't know, throw some bird nests down the drain real quick. I don't know, like I don't know how to clog a drain. It's not even in my best interest to do so.
Yeah, no
Right?
kidding.
I every septic dye test, I hope it passes. So um, just
So
FYI, I think you were thinking of Tommy Lee Jones.
yes, yes, I wrote it down too because I was going to say that at some point. Well, there's a movie about him, and it's the guy who played Ray Charles. They're in that movie together.
Oh yeah,
Jane,
uh,
what
yeah,
is it?
yeah.
I
Shoot,
think
the
he
guy
plays
from In Living
Indiana.
Color.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Anyway, they're in the movie. Tommy Lee Jones plays the funeral person, and the other guy plays the lawyer. That's like they're suing the company out of Canada that's buying all of them. Anyway, it's a
Jamie
decent movie.
Foxx.
Yes, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But anyway, well,
Yep.
Preston, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we went down data and liability, and again, it's like wherever the conversation takes, I like it to go that way. But I do want to delve into your expertise. There's a lot of inspectors out there trying to grow their business, and you have a specialty. You're one of the best there is at and we do a lot of marketing And because of my daughter, and I learned along, this short form video, whether it's TikTok, Instagram Reels, or even YouTube Shorts is getting in on it now. You're one of the best. I mean, you've got,
Well,
500,000 followers. What tips would you have for an inspector starting out if they're trying to grow their following? Any, you know, just what was, strategics or I know you've learned stuff over time, like what worked,
yeah,
what did.
yeah. So it's funny. The things that actually help grow my inspection business are, these are things I go over in my Jumpstart, webinars, but social media harms my business. It actually
Really?
doesn't help my business. I don't get a lot of business from social media, even though I get a lot of people from all over the country and other countries saying, "Can I fly you here to do an inspection?" That doesn't really help my business.
Right,
Very
right,
few of those people are really going to fly me to Australia. I have had that happen and I do some of that, but my notoriety on social media has not actually helped my inspection business. So, in a way, my social media is bifurcated from my business. My business runs as an inspection business, and social media is really the content outlet. So, they run very autonomously. And you would think it'd be the opposite. But my social media harms my business for the same reason that being a thorough inspector harms my business, right? When
yeah.
realtors are watching my social media and a lot of it's controversial, there's some drama, sometimes it's not all fun and games. They don't want to refer to me. And then on top of it, you get realtors around here that don't want to refer clients to me because they don't want me filming stuff at the house, right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of that. I have listing agents that won't let me inspect houses.
Really?
They won't let me. They get clients, and as soon as they see me, they say, "No, you got to pick a different inspector, or we're not going to let you do an inspection." So
Wow.
I will tell you, TikTok and my social media notoriety has harmed my inspection business. The offset is that you make money over there, right? So
Yeah.
what you have to
Oh, my
do
daughter's
is
making a living. I mean, she's making
you
6 digits. She quit her job because she does food reviews.
yeah, I mean you can make upwards of 10 or $20,000 in a month on social media. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to really kind of quantify whether this is worth it. Now, there are some inspectors. You look at Inspector Randall, all of his 100% of his inspections come from his content, but he also specializes in new builds.
Hmm.
So he's in a different region, a different area, doing something different. We have no new builds around here, none. There's no building developments. I've never even met a builder. Everything I do is vintage and antique homes. Uh, and so it's different here. It's very different where I live. So social media has actually harmed, but I will tell you, it has opened other doors,
Right, right, right.
right? So right now we've got some inner workings of a reality show that we're hoping to pitch to HGTV soon.
Nice, nice.
And so there's some good things happening that will transcend the home inspection business when I'm ready to retire and kind of scale it back and let my son run it. And it's like a different path.
Right, right.
And right
Let
now, I'm
me
still doing the daily grind of inspections because it's also a good chunk of my income.
Right. Let me ask you this. Obviously, like I've seen a bunch of your videos. The editing's good. Your thumbnails and all that. Are you using a particular software? Are you doing that within TikTok? And do you also post on Reels? And how does all that work?
So it's really interesting. So social media was like a complete accident. I just I was watching AJ one day and I'm like, oh, I'll give TikTok a shot. I installed it at an inspection, set up my account in the car, and went. My first one was I filmed a loose exterior light fixture. And I think it did like 200 views or something. But then I did a deck video that went viral. I think it was like my sixth or seventh video in, and it did millions of views. And then it all just kind of took off from there, right? I just kept doing it, kept doing it. And the funny thing is all I've really ever focused on is TikTok. I've cross-posted. I have an automation system with a website called Repurpose, but I've
Hmm.
never focused on any other platform. So my numbers aren't good anywhere else. Like I think I have 8,000 followers on YouTube. That's the best I've got.
Not bad though. That's still not bad. Well, I mean, it doesn't compare to your TikTok, but
Right.
way
But for
better than
me,
average.
it was kind of cool just focusing on TikTok, like not spreading myself thin and watering down what I was doing so that it worked on all platforms. Um, And I really like the following that I have there because you get to know the people, you get to know other content creators. So for me, it's more community minded than it is anything, you know. But I will tell you that you asked me a minute ago about other inspectors, how to grow their business. And in a way, I kind of wanted to circle back to that because for me, social media has harmed my business. I think that you have to be careful as an inspector on what you shoot, right? You have
Right.
to make the conscious choice whether your content's going to be positive, whether you're going to wait to post content until after closing. There's a lot of things you can do there to help mitigate damage. Um, but the things that have grown my business the most are the things that I actually get the most criticism and hate for. And my number one most effective marketing strategy has been encouraging all clients to attend their inspections and be a meaningful part of them.
Hmm.
That is not the industry norm. It's not
No,
standard.
all
And
our guys are like, man, we hope they don't come.
right, home inspectors hate it when clients attend, right?
Uh,
And so that in and of itself has been the number one thing for me because why? Realtors watch me interacting with the clients. They watch me explaining everything. They watch me, putting everything into context. And it's what keeps people from getting freaked out and backing out of their deals.
yeah, that's
Because when
true.
they understand it, when they know that a double tap takes 3 minutes to fix, right? It's easy. It's a pigtail. Like it's so easy to fix. When they know that even the foundation damage, it's a vertical crack. I don't see displacement. It's minor settlement. I'm not just pointing at defects and saying problem, problem, get it fixed, get it fixed. I'm adding context. I'm talking them through the whole inspection.
Sure.
It
And
makes
and
my
we've
job
noticed.
harder, but that's how I command a higher price, and that's how I get the referrals from the good realtors.
That we've noticed too, like, the thing in this industry called callbacks that none of us likes. There's a lot less callbacks when they came to the inspection.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
more callbacks if you because we studied it one time. It's because they weren't there, and like you said, the context they don't know. Like, was this a big deal? Or, and then later,
Right.
I hear
Right.
that. Well, I saw it was in the report, but I didn't think it was a big deal. Well, I didn't tell you to think that,
Right.
I mean, but if you're there, I agree with that
Yeah,
100%.
that for 5 years now has grown my business. Like every time I get a new realtor referring to me, I get listing agents that watch me interacting with the clients. And at the end of it, they're like, I need a card. Right. And I give them my card, and all of a sudden I start getting referrals from them. Because what they see a lot is home inspectors that either don't interact with the client and the report scares the hell out of them, or you get home inspectors that are scaring the hell out of people when they're at the inspections.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
adding context, they're just, freaking people out. And
Well, I got to
so,
ask this because I got a front row seat to my daughter who does food reviews, and Sarah Margaret Eats. For anybody who's listening, follow her. And tell me yours again. It's Inspector Preston, right? I think
Inspector
Inspector.
Preston, yeah. Yep.
She works at it, man. I know a lot of people are like, oh, she makes TikTok. Dude, she all the time. I mean, she's always working at it. So I know you're working at it. So tell me like what goes into it about how many, do you do more than a video a day? How long does it take you to edit and all that sort of stuff? Or
Yeah, so here's the thing. I actually don't spend that much time with the content part. I don't, it's funny. I say this out loud and everybody gives me criticism, but I do 99% of my video editing while I'm driving to the next inspection.
really?
I just, it's not hard. I do all my editing in the TikTok app. Um, and it's just not hard for me. And I probably spend less than 10 or 15 minutes shooting content.
Wow.
And most of the time, the clients are standing right there. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I shoot a video about this? And they're like, nah, go for it. You want to be in the video? Nah, leave me out of it. And I just start filming and talking about it, and then we get right back into the inspection and we move on. While I'm driving, I add the videos into TikTok, and then usually when I got home, I make the thumbnail and you
From
know,
an outsider looking in, because we were, I'm happy, man, if I get 1,000 views, and every one of yours has like zillions. So I look at like your video and AJ's and a couple of other guys, and one thing I started noticing, like I tried to like, all right, is there a form? I wouldn't say there's a formula, but there's certain things you draw people in, you create a little sense of something to come. Like there's going to be a payoff if you keep watching, and you have a tagline. Yours is like that's a whole bunch of nope or
Yeah, that's a
something.
big bunch of
Pretty,
nope.
yeah, that's pretty good. And there's that one guy who always like that ain't right or so. He's pretty good.
Yeah, that's Trey. He's a good buddy of mine, man. He's a good guy.
And there's a couple of other ones.
You got
But
Brett
like
Fletcher. Don't do that.
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do that, Inspector. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's my buddy Brent. Yeah, so everybody's got their own little. It's funny, big bunch of nope. I kind of got stuck with because I said it in a video, and then it started
Mhm.
showing up in my comments, and so I just started running with it, and I found out like I didn't even realize I said it, but that was a thing that I said a lot. I'm like, that's a big bunch of nope.
No, it's good. It's good. I've tried to come up with a tagline. I just sort of do my thing is, but I'm not in y'all's league at all. I do the old, cheap, good, and fast, but you can only pick two. Which one did they omit here? But I do that a lot. But that's not really a tagline. It's too long. But yeah, it works. I do well in my market, but I'm not internationally known like you.
Well, there
Well,
there is a recipe. I literally have what I call the secret sauce recipe.
can you share a little bit?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's six things. Okay. And I actually did a video in my private Facebook group last week about this. Number one, first rule, you got to have a catchy hook. Your
Yeah.
hook has to stop somebody in their tracks because these days everybody's doom scrolling through
Scrolling.
their
Yeah.
videos,
Right,
right?
right.
So if you don't say something that makes them stop doom scrolling, forget it. Now that hook has to appeal to a wide audience. That's a thing that a lot of guys miss. Home inspectors, I see these videos every day where they're like, today I want to show you this window flashing.
Scroll, scroll.
Scroll. Nobody cares about window flashing.
Right.
But so that gets into number two, which is there can't be any gaps. These days, people have the attention span of a goldfish. So
Yeah.
if there's even little tiny gaps, enough time for their brain to say it's time to scroll, forget it. So your videos have to be rapid fire.
Right, right, right.
Number three, this is probably the most important one, other than the catchy hook, is you have to tell a story. And that was something it took me a while to figure out. All my videos that went viral all followed that same model where I was like, oh, I was telling a story in that video. It wasn't like, hey, this window flashing sucks and it's going to cause water damage. That's not a story. Nobody cares about that. And that appeals to about that much of the population. But when you say, today I got to this inspection and the listing agent told me not to go in this room.
Now that's creating.
Like
I gotta watch now.
everybody in the world is like, what's in that room, right? So,
Exactly.
of course, I'm going to be talking about wood destroying insect damage, but I didn't say that at the beginning. I didn't say, today I want to show you this termite damage.
Right.
Scroll, right? So, when I
You
figured out,
created some suspense and
right,
like a
right, it has
teaser,
to
really.
be a story. Now, that story has to include a villain. That's number four. Tell a story, include a villain. Today, the builder told me, right? You see these videos, you're like,
Well,
oh,
that was Walt Disney's formula, if you think
right,
about it.
right. You got to have a villain. Number five, include some sort of prompt for comments. Now, I had a video last week, and it was one of those, or last month actually. I had a video that I knew wasn't going to do very well. It's just another video. But what I did was I panned through the basement, and there was a big Trump flag, and next to the Trump flag was a Confederate flag. And I didn't say a word about them. I just panned past them and said, hey, let me show you the foundation. But I did it on purpose because I knew everybody was going to be like, hey, what about the Trump flag, right? I knew it was going to be controversial.
Right, right,
And
right.
sure enough, the algorithm, like there were full political fights going on in my comments, and the algorithm was like, hey, this is viral content, right? So sometimes I'll say things like, can you tell how I know this tile wasn't professionally installed? And then I don't give them the answer. I just move on. So you
That's
get
good.
everybody in the comments trying to guess at what, the tile problem was. All right. So that was that was so include a villain. Number five, include a prompt for comments. Number six, this is one of the most common mistakes I see people make is you have to speak in an interesting storytelling, articulate voice. I
Okay.
believe the algorithm is sharp enough to know who's well spoken and speaking in a engaging way. There are home inspectors that have good content, but they're monotonous when they speak. They go, today I'm here and I want to tell you about this thing at the house and it's terrible. Don't do that. No, it's not Brent. Uh, but no, there are some guys. All those guys that are doing well, if you notice, Brent Fletcher, Inspector Randall, AJ, they all speak in an articulate, intelligent manner. It's
Right.
engaging the way they speak. So
Right.
that's number six. Then you get into the common mistakes that guys make. Number one, never introduce yourself, never introduce your business.
Oh, that's what we do all the time, man.
Everybody does it. Hey guys, I'm Preston Kincaid. I cover the tri-state area. Today we're here doing an
Scroll,
inspection.
scroll,
Right.
scroll.
Nobody cares who you are, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to all, I don't know, 500 of my videos on TikTok, I've never introduced myself or mentioned my company name one time, not once.
Really?
Not
Huh.
one single time have I ever introduced myself or my company.
That's smart, man. That's a good tip. Those are great tips. Those are great tips. You
Yep.
also seems like you start out, and AJ starts out where you're like talking into the camp. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems like you start off like camera on you talking, and maybe that's where you're doing the teaser or the tag the hook. Is that am I right about that or?
So the hook, yeah. I tried yesterday. I just shot a video that I think I'm going to launch tonight or tomorrow. I noticed like Randall, man, he's doing very well on social media right now. Millions of
What's his
views.
handle?
Inspector Randall.
Inspector Randall. All right.
Yeah, he's doing good content, consistently good. And he just started getting into these silent videos where he's not talking. He's got a little pointer hand and he's just
Mhm.
tapping on defects, doing millions of views on it. So
Really?
I tried to do a spin on that and I used my laser pointer. So, part of it is just trying different things and seeing what works.
Awesome,
You
awesome.
know,
Well, I love it. Well, man, that was worth the price of admission right there, Preston. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, so I don't want to hold you up too long. I just have one last thing. It's a little game I do on the called this or that. I give you two things and you choose them, just
okay.
to end up with, and then we'll call it iOS or Android,
Android.
smartwatch or old school wristwatch.
I don't wear a watch at all.
Are you just like a phone, like
My phone, yeah, my phone is everything.
I got you, got you. All right. Your wife hopefully won't see this. Ginger or Marianne?
Oh, that one's straight. I'm gonna say Mary Ann for sure.
Yeah, everybody goes Marianne's.
Yeah.
Tennis shoes or flip flops?
Can I say hey dudes?
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I
Because
should
hey
add
dudes are
that.
kind of like the new flip flops, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, they're super comfortable too.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan or LeBron?
Michael Jordan. I'm old.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm old. So
same. Um, beach or mountains?
mountains for sure. Forest. Put me in a treehouse, man.
If you had, this is not a good choice, but you got to pick the one of the two. Trapped in a room full of mosquitoes or a room full of clowns?
Clowns, definitely. Because clowns are entertaining and mosquitoes, I'm hoping they go extinct. And I'm
if
willing
you
to
could
sacrifice frogs for it.
if you could time travel, would you go to the future or the past?
The past for sure.
Past. I always
Yeah.
said I would go to the past and do like remember the movie Back to the Future where he had the sports atlas and
No, I'm going back to 1998 and investing heavily in Yahoo.
there you go. Um oh, the toilet paper, over or under?
Toilet paper? Oh, definitely over. And
Over.
that's just because that's how the patent was written.
Yeah. Oh, that's somebody else told me that. Somebody else.
Yeah.
Everybody says over, but I do hear if people have cats, it's better to do under because they can't. I don't pull it up. Very last question, and I'll let you go, Preston. Let's say you woke up tomorrow and parallel everything the same, but you had to start your business all over. You still have your same knowledge, equipment, and all that, and you had $5,000, but you had to start over with your business. But everything you had to start over, just crazy. How would you spend that $5,000? What would you do?
Um, I would spend I would spend that $5,000 on gas, and I would walk into as many realty offices as I possibly could. I would shake
Oh,
as
you know
many
about this?
hands.
This
I would buy as many lunches. I would sponsor as many lunch and learns because everything about our business, you always hear like, where do I advertise? Where do I market?
Mhm.
And there is, and I call it the vine that keeps producing fruit. The minute that you make a relationship with a really good realtor who trusts you, you're going to get 20, 40 referrals a year for the next 5 years.
Awesome.
You want to
Awesome.
you want to spend 5 grand on Facebook ads, you might get 6 clients and that's it. It's you burn the
Well,
money.
yeah, and it's not perennial, like you said. They're just
Yep.
buyers and they're
Yep.
one-offs. They're not.
Whatever it took to get me in as many faces as possible is what I would do. And these people that try to build their businesses and grow their businesses from behind the keyboard, it doesn't work. We're
Nah, yeah,
still in
they
an
got to.
industry where it's all relationships, buddy. All
Well,
relationships.
that was the moral of the whole thing with the funeral home too. It was no
Yep.
like and trust.
Yep.
Well, Preston, thank you so much for your time. Um, Tell everybody about the stuff that you're doing, the program you and AJ have, and all the other stuff you're doing that people can learn and follow you and that sort of thing.
Yeah, man. So, I still got Home Inspector Jumpstart, which is basically just literally everything that I did to start my business and grow it within the first couple of years. I just mapped it out and said, here you go. I offer that for free, so anybody can message me and I'll give them a link to it. It even includes a download of all my source files, all my print, my business cards, brochures, everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
How do they message you? What's the best way?
yes, Preston at gmail.com is a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one to easy one to remember. AJ and I created Best Inspector List where we're trying to include the inspectors that, are doing all the right things, right? That are using thermal imaging, that always do a roof level inspection, never binoculars from the sidewalk. They encourage their clients to attend inspections and be a meaningful part of it. Like we have a whole 10-point list. And it's really about the only good thing I could think of using my platform for. What's the purpose of having 500,000 followers if you can't help people with it,
No, I love
right?
it. Love it.
So I can tell people in my comments every day, they're like, hey, how do I find a good inspector? You're like, Best Inspector List. I can drive, my followers there. I can drive people there. And I tell realtors about it all the time.
Now, is it a website? Like, could I Google that? Go to that best
Yeah.
inspector?
Yeah. Just go to bestinspectorlist.com.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what was your email one more time?
Yes, Preston at gmail.com.
Awesome. And obviously, it's Inspector Preston on TikTok.
Yeah.
If you got value out of this, go follow him. Although, I mean, he's got 500,000 followers as it is, but but go follow him. You know, you got value out of this. I mean, you gave some gold nuggets, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciated the time. I kind of wish it went longer. You're a fun person to talk to.
Oh, same, same. All right, Preston. Well, everybody who listens, one last time, sorry, the Gmail, yes, Preston at
Yep.
gmail.com,
Yep.
best inspectors list,
Bestinspectorlist.com.
and Inspector Preston on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Preston.
All
Well,
right,
thank you so
Preston.
much for your time. I appreciate it.